There we go. There we go. Sorry about the delay there, guys. We had some tech issues this morning, but I think we got it all figured out. So welcome to Caliber Corner, episode number 231, season 4. Today we're going to have a little Glock talk. This is going to be a very, very special episode of Caliber Corner as we examine our true feeling of emotions towards a firearm where people either love it, hate it, or just simply don't care. Look at that. We've already got the fanboys showing stuff off right now. Let me just get this out before we get started. Okay, so I have no issues with Glocks. I've owned 4. I'm actually contemplating buying my 5th, and so we'll talk about those. Are they actually, are they the perfect canvas to make the perfect pistol, or are they box stock perfection because they put perfection in the model? So today we're going to talk about Glocks in general. How do we feel about them? What do we think? What do they need? What do they not need? What kind of pitfalls are there if you own one, if there are any at all? So before we do that, we're going to go and let the panel introduce themselves and get started. We've only got an hour because we got to let Gizzard Gary get his podcast fired up. So we're going to let everybody go over there and check that out this morning. Before we do that, let's let the panel introduce themselves. AWAG 1000 is off to my right. Good morning, AWAG. How's it going?
Howdy, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
We're doing good. We're doing good. What you got coming up on the channel, man? Anything good?
I don't know. I mean, I got some 22 long rifle stuff doing. I just bought a new Savage Mark II TRR, and I got rid of my little green powerhouse that I had. I have ordered a bunch of parts for it, so that should be coming up on my channel sometime soon.
Sweet. Nice. So guys, make sure you get over there and check out AWAG 1000. He's been with us pretty much since the beginning as we cruise into season 5 here in a little over a month. So guys, get over there and subscribe to AWAG 1000's channel. We find a lot of good content, a little bit of variety over there, which is good. All right. Also joining us, now achieving 1,000 subscribers. Thanks to everybody out there that's joining in. Chris from the 740. Chris, how's your morning going, man? Are you good?
Yeah. Good morning. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate you putting that into your community page. I didn't even see that till this morning. And I noticed my subscriber count was jumping kind of quick. So yeah, you definitely helped that.
Well, I mean, and some of the people in the circles that we kind of dabble in, they've helped me along the way by letting me be on their podcast, some of considerably bigger channels and stuff. Let me, advertise what I have to offer the world. And so I try to get back to anybody anytime I can. So, so people head over to your channel. What are they going to find?
We do Wednesday nights. We do a live chat every Wednesday from 9 to 11 Eastern. And I try to put a new video out every Tuesday and Thursday. I do a lot of gun reviews, optic reviews, and a lot of reloading content.
Cool. Good deal. Guys, make sure you get over there and do that. Hey, Chris, go ahead and put a post in there so I can make you a mod. We got to do that this time because he was trying to put his link up for his channel last week and he's like, I'm not a mod. So we'll give Chris not only 1,000 subscribers, but the blue wrench. There you go. So we'll definitely mod him. All right. So guys, make sure you check out Chris's channel. Lots of good stuff over there. Great podcast, lots of great content. And thank you all. If you're my subs or if you got my message for subscribing to Chris and helping to get his channel promoted. So, all right. Also joining us, another fellow Nebraskan. We've got Sandhills Media, a.k.a. John Anderson, a.k.a. the man out there this morning. So, John, how's your morning going? What's going on, dude?
Well, dude, it just started, but I have got a little bit of go juice.
Yeah. So you got your Pew Pew Dew that you're drinking right now. Yeah.
Right. My Mountain Pew.
You've got the Legacy SS Pawn T-shirt on right now, right? Look at that. Heck yeah, dude. Nice. I should have put mine on if I would have known that. Remember the one episode where like 4 of us were wearing them?
I know.
Me and you and Defense Dad.
That day.
Yep. All right, man. So tell us a little bit about what your channel has to offer. You have an awesome channel. You've got some fantastic podcasts. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on them. They're good. They're fresh to listen to. You have a different topic every week. You really make people think. And that's what's cool about your podcast. So what is your channel all about?
Lately, it's pretty much all about the podcast. I have not released anything else in a long time, which is weird with all the free time that I have. You'd think I'd be cranking out some videos. But yeah, that's exactly what we do. We try to make people think. So we go live every Thursday night, basically the same time Chris does. Every Thursday night, 8 o'clock Central Time, which is the only time zone that matters. And,
of course.
We run usually about an hour and a half, unless the host gets really windy, and then it goes closer to 2. It's kind of a combination. lately where we have a topic, we don't always stick to it. Sometimes we just kind of let the conversation go wherever. But it's really organic, and I like that, and I think the people that listen like that, all 11 of them. And so I thought the best show that no one is watching. And it really, I'm not even here to talk about Glocks. I'm just here to try to boost my my viewership a little bit by hitching onto your coattails.
Hey man, no, don't worry. You know what? Like I said, you got these. You always play a wonderful devil's advocate. So you get this topic out there, and you're really, it's really challenging to argue with the points that you make because you've got such a good argument on all these topics. It's like I can never win, John. I can never win. But that's okay. I have fun in the debate sometimes, you know.
Unlike
I'm on Wednesday night too, John, not Thursday. So, and I just subbed your channel because
same time slot.
Yeah, because Travis always goes over to your show on Thursday night after, so now I can head over there and watch now too.
Heck yeah. And if you want a link and you want to sit in on a panel sometime, just let me know. Just excuse me. This week is actually going to be really cool. DC Project has something big in the works that they're about to announce on Tuesday.
Sweet.
Including a new YouTube video that, or not just YouTube, but a new video that they've produced that some of us may have had access to early, but we are sworn to secrecy. And if I leak it, then I don't know how many ladies there are in the DC Project, but they're all mad at me and they all converge on me, and I don't know what they could possibly come up with for torture methods, but I will be dead, and it'll hurt the whole time I'm dying. So,
oh my God! Okay, I got to see this video now. We're gonna push this all across all the social medias.
If you haven't seen anything from through Tuesday or Wednesday, then come join us Thursday night. We've got at least one DC Project rep, and that would be Nebraska's rep, Stephanie Schaefer. And she's going to try and recruit a couple more ladies to join us. We're going to just spend the whole night talking about DC Project. I might have room for a couple people. Others on the panel will kind of see how many ladies we get to join. I just don't want to take away from them.
Okay.
And we're going to play the video.
So we don't know how many ladies it will take to kill John, but we know how many they're going to use.
Well, if I was to leak it, I think they would use all of them. Mm-hmm. And I'm scared of just one lady being mad at me, let alone all of them, because the one common thing besides being female that these ladies have is that they're all crack shots.
Oh yeah, they're always. You don't normally take the fair sex to the range with you just because they tend to outshoot us, because I don't know what the deal is. Not to mention the one that lives with you, John, they'd probably contract her to do something. So, you really got to take it easy this time.
I didn't think about that. And she has
you got your own mole, your own plant living in the house. So
she has access to me when I'm asleep, and she has access to my food.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so I just won't leak the stuff early, and everything's going to be golden. So wait for you can see that stuff on Tuesday, or you can come see it for the first time or see it again Thursday night.
Sounds good, man. And then also, did you want to talk about the LLC, about the business opportunity, or not the business, but what you're going to maybe start doing here in the near future?
Sure, but I mean, we don't have a ton of time this morning, but I just started up a new business here in Northeast Nebraska as a firearms instructor. So you can go to sandhillsdefense.com and check that out. We've got new classes that we're trying to get scheduled. Because I've got so many things going on right now, it's just hard to find time to get enough time to do a class, and plus I don't have an actual location to do it. I have to rent a classroom and then drive 40 miles over to a range. So logistically, it's a little bit of a challenge yet. But I'm always looking for somebody to come up to me and say, hey, I've got this great space that you could just schedule classes. And if nobody shows up, then, you don't have to still pay to rent the room. And I've got this great place just 10 miles out of Norfolk where there's a berm and you can set up targets if you want to. And
cool.
Still always looking for that. So.
Oh yeah. We got to see if there's any ranchers out there that's got a 40 acres and a mule that John can use. That's definitely
now,
what it is.
Before I shut up, the more important things, I'm also part of Nebraska Firearm Owners Association. The constitutional carry bill is set up tomorrow. And I think I think it's the first bill that they're going to hear on the agenda, if I'm not mistaken. The second of 3 rounds of debate, it's got to be 4 hours this time. 4 hours basically of filibuster and then a vote to see if it goes on to final reading. And we're fast running out of time. So if you're in Nebraska, please lean on the senators to pass the bill and get it over to final reading so that there's time to there's time to get it signed by the governor yet this year. But because they can't send it to him until they have round 2 and round 3 of debate. So 4 hours this time, 2 more hours for final reading, and then that'll be it. So that's the biggest stuff.
Cool. All right, man. Lots of good stuff coming up here. Hopefully, even better news. Yeah, go ahead, Foose. We're gonna switch over to you now. Go ahead, man.
Sorry, I keep dropping in and out. My boss is calling me off and on. So, jeez.
So Foose, tell us about you, man. What should people know if they check out your channel, if they're interested in you? What do you got to say, man?
USPSA all the time, all day, That's what I'm into. That's what my channel has become, is just me shooting USPSA. I don't have any matches from this year on it yet, but I have most of my majors from last year on it. It's just me shooting. I don't have any commentary, nothing like that. It's just a place for me to put my matches so I can watch them back to back and see if stuff I was doing earlier and working on, if I got them corrected in a later match. So it's basically a reference for me. If other people watch it and enjoy it, that's cool. But I'm doing it for me. I think I don't even have 200 subscribers. I don't care about the subscribers.
No, you're just using it as a tool for improvement, and that's cool. Yeah. That's kind of why I do my range videos. It's like I want a record of how I shot a particular gun, and then I thought, well, if I'm going to go there and drive and take the time and burn the ammo and the supplies, I might as well go ahead and record and let other people watch it if they want to. And if not, well, I go back and check it out. So it's fun for me myself. So it does work kind of as a self-diagnostic tool, if you will. Cool, man. So Bruce, we're gonna go ahead. Yeah.
And what's cool about mine is this year, like most USPSA, you see the from a third person view. I actually have a hat camera now that you can see a run third person and first person, so you can see what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. Like you could almost look down the sights with me, which is kind of a cool, cool view for people to look into it and see what's going on. As far as competitor standpoint, it tells you a little bit, not a ton, but it does tell the shooter a few things. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. That's cool. Well, since we have you on and you got the hot mic going here, what are your thoughts about Glock pistols? We're just going to jump right into, because you had mentioned some really interesting things in the pre-chat. What do you think about the Glocks out of the box? Okay, so what are your thoughts on Glocks? Yeah.
Before I start talking, I do have to say this. I've owned one Glock in my life, and I've owned it for about 2 months. I picked it up for a specific division in USPSA, and I come from a hammer world, hammer-fired world, so I didn't understand the striker and the recoil relationship, how they have to be equal, and I started getting out-of-battery detonations because my striker was pulling my gun out of battery. I didn't understand it, so I got rid of it. That's me and all striker guns. But with that being said, like, no gun out of the box needs anything. It's all once for the individual shooter. For, like, no matter what, if it's a Shadow, if it is a Glock, M&P, what have you, Beretta, anyone could shoot any gun. You just have to get trained on it and learn how to shoot it. With that being said, like, for the best upgrades of any firearm, including Glock, for me, is 10,000 rounds. And actually shoot it, use it, get comfortable with it, learn how to reload the thing in a second. learn how to look at a spot and the sights and the gun just show up there without thought, because they're all going to run. You may not be the fastest. You may not be getting, 16, 17, 18 splits with a standard Glock, but you're going to be getting 20 to 22 splits. And really that amount of time doesn't matter much.
And with your Gen 4s offering grip, adjustments, adjustable with your back straps you can put on there, and the availability of factory night sights, and the Gen 5s offering ambidextrous slide stop, slide release, whatever you want to call it. They're starting to they're offering the basics of what a person needs out of the box for a functional gun. So again, we're going to run this around and let everybody kind of share their opinion on Glocks, their experiences with them and stuff.
Don't get me started on the usefulness of night sights.
Okay. I'm just saying that's one of the first upgrades, or when you call it an upgrade for people, one of the first things they do is they swap out and put, fiber sight on, or tritium fiber, or they'll put night sights on the gun. But the fact that you can get a lot of these things from the factory, it's not going to void the factory warranty, then that, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Not to mention the entire range of calibers and sizes and optics cut, non-optics cuts that Glock offers. There's a lot of options out there. And again, I'm not sponsored by Glock. I'm just saying, as a consumer, this is what I see and this is what I think. All right, so John, I'm going to move over to you because I know that you've got a lot of experience with Glock pistols. What are your thoughts on the platform in general? Were there any modifications you made to yours, or do you just kind of leave it as is, or what?
Contrary to what a lot of people, and I think Rob out there in the chat may suspect, I'm not a fanboy. I have one and I like it. It's one of my 2 carry guns. What have I done to it mechanically? Zero.
Yeah.
I put some Talon grips on it to.
I didn't know if you put a Hogue grip on it. Talon grips just for some different.
Talon grip, the rubber ones, not the sandpaper ones. I put a different strike plate on it from Millspin. Or not a strike plate, striker.
The plate. Rear back plate on the slide.
The back plate on the slide. The striker.
Those are cool. I had an all black one on mine, an all black American flag on mine. Yeah.
Well, they put one out that said "Get off my lawn."
Oh yeah.
So they had to.
Oh, they made that for you.
I know they did.
Actually, they will. If you talk to them, they will make a design for you. If you ask them to, they will custom make one for you. Because I'm
kind of thinking about once I get my Sandhills Defense logo, we're almost there. I was hoping to have it whipped out last night, but my designer, who is related to my wife, so she is kind of helping me nights and weekends a lot of the time too.
Okay.
But I was hoping to get an email with kind of a look of a final product last night, but
cool.
It didn't happen because she has a life. So by the end of the week, I should have an actual logo out, and I might get one from Millspin. I might order a custom one. That's all I've ever done to mine. I've not even swapped off the plastic sights. After 7 years now, the sights are none the worse for wear. Although I don't abuse my carry guns. I mean, I carry them. I shoot them every now and then. Well, that's it.
Like people always dog on the plastic sights. The only times your sights are really going to get destroyed are coming out of the holster. Like nothing else.
If you've got a decent holster, then that's not an issue.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've seen some high-end holsters just because of the operator ripping the crap out of the gun coming out. Some high-end holsters have bent over some metal sights.
Well, and okay, so let me just say, as a fledgling instructor, I don't know anything about competition and how draw strokes would be different coming out of a holster there. But if you're drawing from a normal concealment holster, there should never be any pressure on that front sight. You should always draw straight up.
Usually there's a channel.
Then rotate.
A pretty significant channel.
Yeah, I don't care how high end or low end it is. If it's a decent holster, it's going to have a front sight channel. And
all of them will.
And there's no excuse for the sight to ever hit that if you are doing your draw correctly and you're not trying to get that muzzle up before you clear the holster.
It's torquing the gun inside the holster.
It's kind of whipping it, kind of arcing it out as you bring it up, and that front side's going to
or twisting it. You mean sideways?
No. It's you grab it and you're twisting it inside the holster to try to get up and out. That's where it is. And those, because all kydex is plastic, kydex will flex, and you can sit there and you can torque all these holsters, these kydex holsters. And that the guy that I've seen bend 3 Shadow 2 orange front sights because they're aluminum, they're soft aluminum. All of them, it's because he torques the crap out of the gun inside the holster.
Okay, which I can maybe see that.
Yeah.
But again, that's operator error, and it can be overcome with practice. But yeah, so I've never had a problem with my plastic sights on my Glock.
Agreed.
I've not kept a round count of how many rounds I've shot through it. It's several hundred, probably not 1,000 yet. The only issues I've ever had with that gun were when I had it was brand new. The first couple magazines that I shot through it, and of course they were brand new magazines as well, so they had extra stiff springs. And plus, I had not had any formal training, so it might not have been the gun, it might not have been the magazine, it might have just been my wrist. I can't say. I had a couple stovepipes, and it never happened after that. And I've never had that gun fail since. And Lord willing, I'll never have to actually use it to defend my life, but if it does, I trust it.
Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and move over to Chris. So, Chris, what is your experience with Glock firearms? What are your thoughts on box stock versus modification, or do you do anything to yours just kind of as a standard? What do you think?
Yeah, like we were talking in the back chat, I never had any desire to own a Glock until I was in a gun store and I saw that CAA MCK kit, and I had to have that stupid thing. And
so for people that don't know, it's like a carbine conversion kit. Is that what we could call it essentially?
Yeah.
So it takes your pistol and basically makes it into a carbine, or or a pistol with a larger frame. It snaps into, and
So I called my buddy that's on the department, and I asked him, I said, "You got any year-old retired Glock 22s?" And he said, "Yeah." So I ended up buying one from him, and I did a ton of work on that gun. I put that 40 to 9mm conversion barrel in it, and did a bunch of ghost trigger bar or the connectors and things like that with it. And from there, they just started growing on me. And now I own 3, and my Glock 40 is probably one of my favorites that I own.
Okay. All right. And AWAG, what about you? What are your thoughts on Glocks? And then we're going to come back and talk about Glock hype, Glock fanboys. Is that a real thing? Go ahead, AWAG. Yep.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm pretty familiar with Glocks. My dad has a Glock 43 that when he visited, I basically took a look at it and saw that it had fuzz everywhere on it. So I basically tore it all the way. Glocks are actually really, really simple. For those of you who are not so mechanically inclined, I encourage you to take one apart, the slide. They're actually really, really simple. I think it's like four little sub-assemblies that go into the slide. You have your striker assembly, you have your ejector plunger, or not your ejector, your extractor plunger, your extractor, and then the safety, what is it? The safety, striker safety plunger. And then you have your back plate. Look up a video online. There's tons of them out there. It's really, really simple. When you take them apart, you'll actually see how it operates. I think it's pretty cool. I'm not one of the Glock fanboys, but like I think they're pretty neat.
And that's something I think everyone should understand, is how to fully disassemble their main firearm. Totally take everything apart, individual pieces, and put it back together, because you will learn more about it. You will learn how it does, what it does, and in case you need to fix it in the future, you already know how to do that, instead of being like, oh, I got to get this fixed and not know what to do. But that's just firearms in general. I'll let them continue.
Gotcha.
Tacos and French fries brought up a good point. He said for me, they're one of the easiest guns to take apart and clean. Really good for, first-time gun owner. I got to agree with that. They are super simple to take apart. Not like an FN where you got to have an engineering degree to take it apart.
Finagle the barrel back into the slide, get it to fit.
So I like to equate this. If you're not mechanically inclined at all, and people want to know how the striker how a striker operated pistol works, some of them are like the Glock. A lot of them are very similar to the Glock, whereas when you pull that trigger, it's pulling that striker back, and it's like basically doing a slingshot. It's pulling that striker back and then letting it go when the trigger breaks, and that's when the striker goes forward, smacks the primer, and then the whole kit caboodle goes, does its thing. There is a couple guns out there that are what's called an activated system or an active system, where it's kind of like a bolt action. When you lift that bolt, it cocks the striker, and then when the slide goes into battery, it's already cocked and ready to go. That's how some of these I forget what guns use that. I want to say never mind. I don't know off the top of my head, but there are other systems out there how striker guns work.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very basic. When I bought my G17, part of it was YouTube reviews. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, but then also kind of the proven reliability of the firearm by several militaries around the world. The fact that the G17 is one of the originals. My first Glock was a G20 10mm Gen 2 that I bought way back in the day, and eventually got the G17. I just wanted something that would be very basic, easy for people to use if I take them with me to the range, manageable, comfortable recoil. I mean, for like a new shooter. And and the funny part is the two G17s that I have, the Gen 4s. It was my best friend and his wife that had bought both of them from me over the course of like a year. And they love them. They take them out. They're just reliable. They're not necessarily gun people. They're Pro 2A, but they have these firearms for self-defense or whatnot. And they love to take them because they shoot them well, and they don't have any opinion about the grip angle or anything like that, because they've really not shot anything else other than some of the guns I've given them. And so for just the basic user, like I've said this before in one of my videos, the Glock is basically the base model Honda Accord of firearms, out of the box, unmodified, just its standard configuration. It just works. Not that they can't fail, not that you can't have a sight fall off, or not that you can't have an issue, but So anyway, we want to address this on the panel. There's a request for this. New York Outcast says Glocks work, but they're overrated in my opinion. All the hype kills it for me. Plus, I like being different than the average guy. So is it the gun's fault that it has such an enthusiastic following? I mean, look at John. Is it John's fault that he has such an enthusiastic following? Because John is just perfection right out of the box. So who wants to address that comment? John, was that you in the private chat that said, "Hey, let's talk about this real quick"?
I do, because it's something that it's probably the most common objection I hear to people that don't want to carry a Glock. It's nothing to do with mechanics. It's nothing to do with anything except for, well, gosh, they talk them up so much and they say they're so great, and I don't buy into it, or I don't want to have what everybody has or whatever. And that's totally legitimate. There's nothing wrong with that if that's how you feel. I just wanted to bring up that back in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was clear back in grade school, I had a classmate, a couple classmates who were just 100% all in on Michael Jordan. And I mean, he couldn't do anything, the man couldn't do anything wrong, at least on the basketball court back then. And I just, because he was so hyped, I was kind of a Jordan hater for a long, long time, until I got a little bit older, understood the game a little bit better, started watching him play, and realized that the man had talent that very few on the planet had or ever have since. The fact that I didn't like him didn't mean that he was awesome. I wasn't buying his shoes. I wasn't buying his jersey or anything like that. That's fine. But the fact that people hype it up is not a detractor. If you don't want what everybody else has, that's fine. There's so many different manufacturers offering so many different options. Cool. That's good. I just want to throw it out there that if the only reason you don't have one is because everybody talks them up. Go check it out. You might like it, you might not, but at least you'll be like Foose and you'll know for sure. So, and I don't know, Rob, if you've had one or not, or what the case is, but I get it. Some people don't like the grip angle. You grew up on a 1911. The Glock grip angle is not going to be right. I started on Glock, so the 1911 angle isn't right. I have to adjust to it. It's just what you're used to. But the hype isn't necessarily because they're perfect. The hype is because since the late 80s, early 90s, when we started hearing about them here in the States more prevalently than the Glock 7 that costs more than you make in a month.
Made out of porcelain.
That one. Yeah. It's just it's true. Every time I grab that gun and put it on target and press the trigger, it goes bang. And I've never had an issue with it. And it doesn't get the cleaning. It doesn't get the lube the way that it really probably should, but it's a Glock. So it's the AK-47 of the handgun world.
Does it? You have a Gen 3 G19, right? Is that what you have? Yeah. Is it a Gen 3 or 4?
Gen 4.
Gen 4. Okay. I wasn't sure.
So got the finger grooves.
Yeah, a few people are complaining saying they don't like the finger grooves. Well, the Gen 5s pretty much eliminate that, if I'm not mistaken. Don't they have just a slab grip now? There's no finger grooves.
Yeah, they took the finger grooves off for the Gen 5s. And the original, and the first two generations didn't have finger grooves. So
that's right. Because my Gen 2 did not. Yeah, because
then the Gen 3 did. Yeah. The Gen 4 they brought out better texturing on the grip,
slightly reduced grooves. And then remember they did what was it called, the Glock P80, their anniversary model that they came out with last year. It was the original. It was the remake of the original.
In a Tupperware container.
Yeah, it comes in the original container, which is what my G20 came in back in the day too. I saw that. I was like, oh my God, the 90s came back to me. And I was like, oh, I wanted one of those, but the texturing on it is also like the original texturing, which is like semi-smooth, Yeah, Foose.
Yeah.
Everything from the 90s is coming back.
Absolutely. Why not? Let's just remake all Gen 1 Glocks. You don't need a taffro anymore.
Can't wait till the pinch roll jeans show back up.
Bring back my hypercolor t-shirts.
The P80 does that still only have a single frame pin in it?
I don't know. I can't tell you. If it was a clone of the Gen 1, other than some slightly updated internals, then it would, but I don't know. I guess I never really got much into the mechanicals of it, just more of the videos, the shooting videos and the overviews. But while you guys are doing that, Kevin June makes a really good comment. Yeah, go ahead, Foose.
Yes, it does have a single frame pin.
So
right
that means
right above the trigger, behind the takedown lever.
Yeah. So that means that means the trigger is different than the other generations of Glocks. Meaning, I'm wondering if you could take that P80 and upgrade it with off the counter aftermarket stuff.
Aftermarket,
because it's a different trigger.
I'm sure somebody's making one.
Yeah, I guarantee somebody has adapted a trigger for Apex, maybe, or
From the looks of it, I've never held one, but from the looks of it, it looks like it's pretty much identical to a Gen 2. Although I don't know the frame pin situation on a Generation 2.
Yeah. And those, I don't think those are even in production anymore. I don't see them on Glock's website anymore, so they might. They're probably gonna be pricey if you can find one, just because they're not in production.
Gen 2, early Gen 2s still had a single pin in the frame, and then shortly into the Gen 2 run, they started making the doubles.
Okay, yeah, the pictures I'm pulling up all show one.
Gen 2 is where it switched from a single to a double pin.
Okay. Other than the grip texturing, they're pretty close to the same.
Okay. Kevin June makes a comment out there. He goes, "It's not the sights I have a problem with. It's the overall Tupperware feel of the whole thing. I find myself gravitating towards metal DA SA pistols these days." And Kevin, I've tested many Glocks on my channel. I've owned several Glocks, and I would still take my ZZ Shadow 2 over that any day. But the Shadow 2 is 3 times more expensive and much more refined as a firearm. Plus, it's a competition grade. It's like a racetrack ready car, right? So it isn't necessarily well suited for everyday carry like a G19, right? Not that you could make it work, but I personally wouldn't. But yeah,
you could also, if you like the metal feel, you could also take and get the aluminum grips. Aluminum lowers for them, I think.
Yeah, the frame for the Glocks. Oh, I'm sure there's probably an aluminum replacement. There's for the P365. I'm sure somebody makes them for at least a G19 or G17. So
yeah,
and
I know what P360 is, and then I know some all metal striker fired guns that are traditionally all like steel or cast metal. A lot of those will have an aluminum lower as well, but you know, a lot of those will have full rails and stuff like that. But there's ways around that feel. So
Gizzard Gary says Glocks are good guns. There are better, there are worse. I shoot mine well, but I shoot others well also. I don't understand the worship or the hate, either one.
They work.
Can we take a minute just to kind of go back and talk about the brief overview, the general history of how Glock even got started?
Yeah, because didn't Glock start off didn't they make like kitchen utensils or something? I mean, seriously, honestly, they were a commercial plastics company, right?
They made the Glock knives
for the Austrian.
Yeah, they made knives and foldable shovels first.
Oh, okay, initially, and I've actually got one of those knives.
So Gaston Glock is not a gun maker; he's a plastics manufacturer and an entrepreneur. And he decided that he could use plastic, come up with a good. We all say plastic now, but everybody knows there's a difference between the cheap plastic you make a trash can out of versus what goes into a firearm frame, right? But it's still a form of plastic, and Glock was one of the front runners for developing some of these higher tech polymer plastics. And so he decided to make a gun, and he didn't know anything about making guns. Therefore, the intricacies of like a PO8 Luger or even a CZ75, he didn't care about any of that. He made something very simple that worked very well, and people poo-pooed it because he was not in the club. He wasn't one of the original gun making families in Europe. And but the thing is, his stuff worked, and it worked well. And once the Austrian army decided to start using it, then word got out very quickly across the continent, and of course it spread across the pond.
So one thing that whenever I look at a Glock, you know how there's a form over function thing, is this is function over form. He didn't
set out to make a pretty gun.
Yeah,
or the most ergonomically comfortable for every single shooter.
He did set out to make ergonomic, just not pretty.
Okay.
Well, so the reason the Glock angle is the Glock angle is because it is the angle that is optimized to lock your wrist and be repeatable single-handed. Because if you think about it, back then, back in the early 80s, one-handed shooting was still a very popular thing. So it's to be able to lock your wrist in a certain angle and keep it locked so everything will work. If you go to like 1911 style where it's more vertical, your wrist is not locked and there's more play in it. So that style, which was actually, if you go back to the PO7 Luger, is the same grip angle. And it was developed back then for feeding issues, but it's the same angle because that is the most optimal angle to shoot one-handed. And going now, everyone shoots two-handed. That's why a lot of people don't like it, is because it is a little. You basically have to aim down for everything because Americans are used to a 1911 style grip. Or more vertical.
Well, it depends on what the first gun is you start off with, though. I mean, it depends. Because with my G20, I mean, I learned to shoot a pistol on my Glock 20. Well, I didn't shoot it a lot because it was expensive back in the day. But I got to be honest, I personally prefer my 1911. Yeah, just think about military. What do we train our U.S. military with? What handgun was kind of the bread and butter staple of the 1911? In more modern times. So you could argue that, yeah. All right. One thing I wanted to talk about is now we start talking about, upgrades. You can do whatever you want. You can even buy, like Zev and Shadow Systems Glock style pistols that have got all the enhancements and all the goodies out of the box, already ready to go if you want to, for a price that would be comparable with customizing your Glock. The fact that there's so much, flexibility in what you can do with it, I think that also gives it a lot of appeal for people. But once you drink the Kool-Aid and go down the rabbit hole of Glock modifications, for a lot of people, it's just they turn them into just, whatever they want. Go ahead, Foose.
So, like, coming back to that, what exactly you just said is Glocks versus a shadow system or something like that. One of these other ones that are making a Glock / not a Glock. Mm-hmm. Like, if you know what you're gonna do to a Glock, like if you know all the upgrades, shop around, shop PSA, shop Shadow System, shop Zed, shop all these other companies, because they may have a package that's exactly what you want. Yes, it may cost you, $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 out of the package. But if you go out and buy a $600 Glock and then you build it to the way, you're going to have $2,000 into it. You're going to have a still under warranty firearm built to specifications that you kind of still want, and it doesn't have the Glock name on it, but in all practicality, it's still a Glock.
Well, there are so many guns that under the hood they're dang near Glock clone, or they're using the Gen 3 firing system and trigger mechanisms. I mean, you could almost swap slides with a Glock and make it run on your gun. I mean, it's literally, in fact, like the original SD9 or Sigmas, they essentially were a clone of the Glock at the time, and they lost in court. So the Sigmas a percentage of the sale had to go back to Glock because of the court loss, because of the design. Now the SD9 VE, I don't know if they modified them, but the SD9 VE under the hood looks almost identical to a Glock too. If you watch my cleaning video on it, you compare it to your slide, you're like, oh my God, it's like practically the same. So I mean, there's a lot of copying that happens.
The SD9 VE is like a Glock where somebody went and screwed the trigger up into the worst possible way.
Yes. Not that you can't get used to it, but the trigger is trash. Let's just be honest. I have one. I own two, and you can get used to it. I liked how accurate they were. I liked how cheap they were. At one point, they were a really good deal. Now they've gone up to almost $400. So they were like $279, pre-election. And so they were a good gun. But yeah, the trigger was like a crappier version of the M&P trigger. And the M&P trigger is leaps and bounds better than the SD9 VE, right? But again, it can be kind of squishy, I guess you could say. But if you shoot enough guns, you kind of get used to a particular trigger, but there's no definite wall before it breaks. But okay, so Gizzard Gary makes a good comment. He goes, I think about people who worship Glock about the same as I do people who go out of their way to hate Glock. It's silly. Get the gun you like and shoot it well. That's what matters. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like me. Amen. I'm just indifferent towards it. I mean, not that I wouldn't do upgrades on my Glock, but I out of the box, it was fine. I bought it because I wanted something reliable and easy to shoot that would hold this resale value. That's got a good pedigree. It's like buying a reliable car. Yeah.
So my take on the fanboys or non-fanboys or whatever is they don't have enough experience with firearms in general, because they're all basically any firearm you buy nowadays from a reputable brand is going to be a good solid piece. Hating on one, like some people call me a CZ fanboy. I love CZs. It's what I know. It's what I shoot well. If someone says you have to shoot this Glock for the next 2 years, guess what? I'm going to learn about the Glock. I'm going to shoot it well. And I may like the Glock, but like I don't like it because I haven't shot them all that much. And it is a different grip frame. I have shot them and I do shoot them okay. I just don't have enough time behind it. If I could, absolutely, I'd shoot it just as good as my CZs. It's not the gun. It's the person. It's the shooter. It's the training they put behind it. So liking one gun, you could like a gun over another because of personal preference, but saying that all other guns are trash, that's coming from a place of ignorance. Like, I love my CZs. SIGs have some issues once you start putting a lot of rounds on them. Run forever. Like, there are, the frames of Smith & Wessons will start chipping. That there's stuff through high usage that each gun will have issues with. But you just have to know that and keep on top of the maintenance, and the gun will continue to run and run and run and run.
Yeah. It's a tool, man. Components wear out. springs break,
Yeah.
things break. You just have to be willing to accept that, especially if you are going to be a high round count user, like a competitive shooter, not that a new gun can't not function out of the box. We see it all the time, Mountain View makes a good point. I want to mention this. He goes, if Taurus came out with a 10 millimeter double single action like their TH40 series, would you buy it? Yeah, actually, I would. If Taurus would come out with a budget friendly 10 millimeter, I think I'd probably buy it. I was kind of interested in the Smith & Wesson. They got the M&P 10 millimeter that just came out recently, the M&P 2.0 10 millimeter. I don't know if it's been recently or not, but saw a video on it recently, and I was interested in it. I wish Glock would come out with this, and there's really no point behind it. It really would serve no purpose at all to benefit the round. I wish Glock would make a single stack 10 millimeter. I just think it would be cool. A compact single stack 10 millimeter would just be fun. But they make a 45 ACP compact that's basically the size of like a mid-sized pistol. I can't remember what model that is. Is that the G34 or something like that? But anyway, this the 30. Okay,
I think it's the 30.
I don't know if they do two different sizes. I know they do. Well, they do a full size 45, but they also make like a compact 45 ACP. But they'd make a single stack 10 millimeter. That would just be awesome. That would just be cool. Although, like ballistically speaking, coming out of like a sub 4-inch barrel, I don't know if you gain much over a 9 or a 40, to be honest with you, in terms of like power, takedown ability, or whatnot. So
and so far they haven't even done their single stacks in 40 or 45 yet.
Yeah,
let alone a 10. So I'm wondering if they're not working on maybe testing or something, and the 9 millimeter is the anything bigger than that may beat the gun up too much. I don't know.
Yeah. I got to be honest. I see the 10 millimeter being kind of the next evolution in marketing for a lot of these companies. You're starting to see a few models show up here and there out of major manufacturers. And, we're at a point now where the RMR cut is like the big marketing thing that we're seeing showing up on all the guns, and it's an option, and it's making more money for the companies. They're giving us all these little incremental upgrades over time. And I really do think that, like 30 super carry, like they're trying to find any angle they can to make new sales. I really think the 10 millimeter thing is going to become more popular over the next couple of years. Whether people shoot it or not, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that they can market and people will buy it, they will. It's like, ooh, 10, I've always wanted one of those, just like how I always said, if I wish that High Point would come out with a 10 millimeter, you wouldn't think it'd be that hard to do because they've already got these massive beefy slides and they already run a 40 and a 9 and a 45. If they do a sub $200 10 millimeter handgun with like an RMR cut and a pick rail on it, I mean, that thing would sell like hotcakes, man. I'd buy one just for the heck of it, even if I didn't want to carry it, Yeah.
Well, a 10 mil in a straight blowback, you're already running at a high pressure. Is a 40 Smith & Wesson is a high pressure round for a handgun. You're looking into the 40,000 PSI range. You put that in a 10 millimeter. Yes, you have more length, but you also have more powder. It's still a high pressure gun, and you're pushing that a lot more muzzle energy. So in order to get a blowback slide that is safe, you're going to have to it's going to have to be quite a bit heavier because you have more muzzle energy because you're pushing that 180 grain or 165 grain so much faster.
Yeah.
We were talking about the aftermarket stuff too for Glock.
Yeah.
One thing, like, people got to be careful too. You start mixing and matching a bunch of parts inside that Glock, you're taking a real reliable gun and making it unreliable. And we're running into this issue right now with Timney triggers in them. I've done a couple, and we put one in a Shadow Systems, and we were having some reset issues. It wasn't all the time, but periodically we were getting a reset issue. Well, we finally figured out that Shadow Systems is not using a Glock OEM connector, and that's what's causing the issue with that Timney trigger. So and Timney, I think, is starting to kind of push towards that. If you're going to use their trigger, they want you to be using the OEM connector in the Glock. So
that is something. If you go out and buy a Glock and you want to do aftermarket parts, buy the aftermarket parts for the same, especially in anywhere around the trigger. Stay with the same company. Don't go Zev disconnector, Timney this, Shadow System that, just because you want to. Each system, each design has its own tolerance stacking, and it may be like, oh, here's this disconnect for this. That's great if it's against OEM parts, But if you start putting a different striker in it, different this, different that, all suddenly tolerance stacking hits, and the gun is going to be a paperweight, like you said.
So that's just the thing. When they say Glock Perfection, my thoughts are a gun that runs out of the box, that's going to be reliable. And again, there's always going to be that random person that says, well, my sight flew off the front of mine in the first 5 rounds. But just when they say Glock Perfection, I think they mean that out of the box, if you want a gun that's going to function perfectly, or a gun that's going to function in its role as a defined firearm, then it is perfection out of the box. It doesn't really need modifications, or if it does, you get it from the factory, like a factory arm cut or factory night sights or whatever. So to me, I mean, I think out of the box, they're just perfectly fine. And you guys make a really good point. Once you start to mess around with them a little bit, you really got to do research, because especially if that's the only gun you have, or if that's going to be your carry gun. Now, I do have just a quick list of some recommended upgrades, and I was going to maybe just see what you guys think about this. You know, should you do this with the Glocks? Should you not? The one that I think would be good, and maybe this is one we can all agree to, maybe for some people it's a non-issue. It really isn't for me, but something that would help would be the Glock extended slide stop lever. So I'm looking at an article from Pew Pew Tactical, and it just has an extra little nub on it that'll help you with it. I top charge, okay? What do you guys think about that? Should an extended lever maybe be something to consider as an upgrade?
Only if you can't get the slide to lock back without it.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay.
Because with Glocks, don't they, once you seat a mag, doesn't it have the auto forward?
No.
Well, it's not intentional. Mine will if I slap the magazine home in.
It might. The momentum could cause it to go loose. But my SD9 VE used to do that if I hit it with just enough force, but it's not. Mine doesn't. But mine also would have issues locking back on empty. So go figure. But
it's not something that is actually intentional and happens with every Glock, but some do.
Okay.
Gotcha. So it's more of the frame is flexing and moving the slide stop once the mag gets inserted than this is supposed to happen.
If you insert the magazine slowly and just push it into place and seat it, nothing happens. If you're going fast and you slam the magazine in and slap it with your palm the way that you should, then sometimes I think what happens is it comes up and it hits the lever for the slide stop, and it actually it releases it. So again, with every gun, especially something like that, make sure that when you reload, you're still keeping your muzzle trained down range.
Yeah, and I don't know if my G17 ever did that, but it probably could. But I never really had any tactical reloads are just really hard. My SD9 VE would do it all the time, but it also had, like I said, it wouldn't lock open on empty. I think the mag was a little bit short, or there's something with the frame, and it would not always lock open on empty. So Patriot in the Dark has an interesting question for us. Are there any stock parts that may rust in Glocks? I mean, there's a lot of polymer inside of it.
Every piece but the frame.
Yeah, well, I mean, but let's like a disconnect or something. I mean, I think they use like a nickel, or they might use like a polished steel inside of it, or an aluminum. I mean, it depends on if you're in a salty environment, or it's prone to a lot of moisture or a lot of humidity. I would just say clean it on a regular basis. It shouldn't be an issue, but
the parts are treated, but you should still keep an eye on them. I mean, the slide is coated with a corrosion
or nitrile
or the barrel,
or something.
But some of the internals, I would assume they probably are too. But you should always either inspect it yourself or have it inspected, just to check for wear and rust. Of course, when you have it field stripped. But if they
this is where knowing your fire,
this
is where knowing your firearm and be able to take it apart and do all that stuff.
If the parts couldn't rust, they wouldn't put grease in them, and there wouldn't be any grease to clean off when you get one out of the box. So a lot of people, when you first field strip your Glock, when it comes out of the box, it looks like there's rust in there, especially up inside the slide. And it's because they have kind of a reddish brown colored grease that they put on some of the parts. It's not rust. That's actually the Glock grease that they put in them, that has to be cleaned out of there.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously there's a possibility that something could happen, but I know that like Canik, they advertise like their internals are nitrile or nitrated or whatnot, not nitrile, nitrated, so that they're, or nickel or polished. They're designed to be resistant to high moisture situations. That's like a Canik selling point. And they also have like, cold hammer forged barrels and stuff like that. let's see here. What was I? Okay, so and then another upgrade that's recommended here is an extended magazine release. I guess I'm not a big fan of that just because it could hit something or press against you, especially if you're concealing it. But again, your holster should cover that magazine release. But I've had Kydex ones that don't, and so that's a possibility. What do you guys think about the magazine release?
There's a trade-off, even if the holster covers the mag release. If it sticks out too far for, just in general carry, the gun can get pushed up against that in the holster and pop your magazine out. There's a sweet spot in length for magazine release. If it's too short, it's hard to use. If it's too long, it's too easy to use. And they did address that with the Gen 4 and Gen 5. They did make the magazine release a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. So I would tell everybody to run it for a while stock before you swap it out, just to see if it needs it. If you do need a different one, it's an easy piece to change out.
That's another one too. You got to be real careful with. Like, I run the Ghost extended mag releases. They're not too overly sized,
but
like NDZs, I don't like them. They wear out quick, and your mags will start not locking in. So you got to be real careful with a lot of your extended releases too.
A lot of people complain about the Glock triggers, and I don't understand why. I've always found them to be like a consistent wall and a crisp trigger. It's always funny how crisp trigger is such an overused term in gun reviews, but it really is. That means it has kind of like a clean break, like a snap when you pull the trigger, a definite wall with a break that you can tell when it's going to go off. I think a lot of people get used to that, or there's a lot of people that don't like it. And maybe if you come from the, single action, double action, all metal pistol world, a lot of those guns have really nice triggers on them. I mean, my Shadow 2's got a trigger to die for, and it's stock. Well, I guess we've replaced the hammer spring. But anyway, so when it comes to triggers, if you're going to do that, I mean, I'm not recommending you make any modifications to your pistol at all. Know what you're getting yourself into, because I mean, the next upgrade that I'm looking at on the list, it says the Ghost, I think it's Ghost brand, right? 3.5 pound trigger connector. So when you get into that area, then you start talking about, self-defense, and you talk about, should you do that modification?
Can we go back to the extended magazine? I'm in and out of cell service.
Sure.
So the extended mag release, it like as you're shooting it, it depends on how you grip the gun, where you're offhand and where you're, how much finger do you get around the gun. Like all these, everything we're saying here, like, oh, these are the recommended upgrades. If you have 10,000 rounds and you shoot the gun, you will learn exactly what you need versus what you want. I mean, there's a need and want in everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is true.
Continue with the disconnect.
Okay, guys, so we've hit our hour. I want to make sure we give everybody a chance to head over to check out Gizzard Gary's podcast. So it's short but sweet. Maybe do a part 2 next week. I don't know, but kind of taking a look at Glocks in general. Go ahead, John. Yeah.
Can I just jump in real quick? There's a lot of joking around going on in the chat right now with putting guns in the dishwasher or washing them in the sink with soap and water. And some people are saying, I've done it. It's fine. Here's the thing. Don't wash any part of your firearm with soap and water that you cannot immediately, once it's dry, retreat it with some protectant, some lube of some sort. If you're going to wash all the lube and grease and oil off the metal parts, make sure you put the correct amount back on. If you have wood, then make sure that if you're going to wash that with soap and water, that you treat it back with some sort of wood treatment, just because you're stripping all the good oils out. And you need to put some of those back in, just like when you do it with your hair, your skin, anything else.
And dishwasher, dishwasher, do not put your firearm inside the dishwasher, because your dishwasher reuses water. So if you're like, I'm going to run it and it's completely empty, but the next couple times you run your dishwasher, you will still have water left over from
lead and oil. That oil doesn't always go down the sink. If you watch gun oil go down the sink, it sits in pools like oil and water outside, during a rainstorm and stuff.
Right.
And not to mention the heated dry will probably warp your frame. I mean, I used to say, well, it's heat resistant. I don't know if it can be handled being that exposed to that much heat. If you feel how hot your plates are, imagine your polymer getting warmed up. Like, I mean, I can't recommend you do it. I mean, just do this. Just help me, help you, help me. Go watch one of my cleaning videos instead, and then just don't worry about it, right? It'll make it a painless process. So In
your sink down the drain is fine. In the dishwasher, please don't.
Man, I don't know where that. I mean, that needs to. I mean, somebody needs to do a video with that, but then safely test the gun afterwards and see if it warps the frame or screws it. No, let's not do that because then everybody's gonna start throwing their guns in with their dishes.
No,
and stuff,
it's been done. It can do it.
Oh.
The gun will withstand it.
Yeah,
I mean, if you put water that's in it afterwards, you're just going to put that on your dishes, and then you're going to eat off of them. It's just not a good thing to do.
Yeah,
even
from a sanitary standard,
you can put gun parts in a sonic cleaner. It'll do the same thing. It'll take everything off of it. Just remember that now you've got untreated metal, and if you don't want it to rust, you're going to have to put something back on that metal.
Yeah, every single square millimeter of that, because if you don't, you could have water on the inside of a rim of a hole of a cut of a part or something.
This is how I clean my competition guns. Take everything apart. I have a plastic dish that I put Dawn dish soap in. I use an old toothbrush, scrub everything down, and then I put them in a toaster oven or a dehydrator or something like that I use for gun stuff only. And as soon as it comes out of there, as the metal is still warm, I start putting oils on it, and then put the thing back together, and then run it. And I mean, yeah, you can do that with dish soap and stuff like that. That's what I do, and hell, it does a very good job. But you got to make sure that the thing gets completely dry, and you start putting oils where oils are needed.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we do have to wrap it up, guys. We're going to go ahead and just run this one around the panel, and maybe we'll continue this discussion next week, or we'll just talk about something else on Sunday. No, hopefully we'll be back on Saturday next week. I'm hoping so. A few people were making some comments about me commenting on my Saturday work that I do. It is tied in with my regular job. It is contractual, so I do have to be there occasionally on Saturdays. I work with a team, and something I have to do, and that does get in the way of Caliber Corner. But that's life. I got to pay the bills and got to feed the dog. So anyway, let's go ahead and run this one around. Liberty, say goodbye. Foose, we'll start up with you. Give us your final plug, Foose.
Bye-bye. Plug final Foose.
There you go. Plug Foose. Final bye-bye. Let's hope Foose doesn't get all plugged up. That's the mighty bear sleeping over the winter, right? Ooh, man.
Ooh, no.
Ooh. All right.
Jeez.
All right. And moving on, we've got Captain Mount Pew, the Dew drinking Pew. I want to say Pew Jew, but no. But anyway, yes.
Jewish.
That's another channel. That's another guy. So right. So John, anything you want to say before we go?
Just that not as much about me, myself, or my channel. I'm still in Facebook jail, so you can go check me out on Facebook by Wednesday or Thursday. I'll be out of jail. Sandhills Media on Facebook, Twitter now, and YouTube. Nebraska Firearms Owners Association, nebraskafirearms.org. If you go sign up to be a member, even if you're from out of state, you can be a member. Keep up on what's going on with constitutional carry here. If you live in Nebraska, the second debate of 3 is tomorrow. We need everybody to help lean on these senators, make sure that they support the bill. Senator Day could really use some encouragement to support the bill because she's kind of undecided. And so everybody, if you could reach out to Senator Day and be very courteous and just ask her to support this, you've got the rest of the day to get emails in. You can even call and leave voicemails. And you can get all that from nebraskalegislature.gov. And then DC
What's
Project.
The bill for?
Constitutional carry.
Okay.
There's a gap in the map of the United States where it's not allowed yet.
Yeah.
We really need to fill that gap.
And we're so close, but we're running out of time because after this week, then there's really no time for debate. And so we've got to get it done this week. The governor will sign it if we can get it passed. But it's going to take some help, especially from those of us inside Nebraska. Inside pressure is way better than outside pressure at this point. But DC Project is going to be on the Get Off My Lawn podcast Thursday night, 8:00 Central Time on the Sandhills Media everywheres.
Just want to say, Nebraskans, this happens so many times where there's just a couple individuals that determine the freedom or the rights or the access to things that the rest of the state gets to enjoy or not enjoy. So you need to exercise your freedom and your ability to communicate with these people.
The Omaha Police Union doesn't want this to pass without a specific amendment that doesn't completely tie their hands behind their backs. The rest of the people across Nebraska don't want that amendment in there. We kind of have an impasse. Without the amendment, the bill doesn't pass because there's not enough senators to vote for it. OPOA is one of the biggest campaign donors to some of these Omaha senators. So don't think for a second that those senators aren't going to listen to the police department. So we get the bill passed with the amendment. At least we get constitutional carry. And then we'll work on that Omaha handgun registration later. But don't let the handgun registration be the hill that you die upon here. Let's get constitutional carry, and then we'll attack the next battle. But let's take this hill first.
Yeah, we can't always get what we want every single time, guys.
You can't get everything that you want.
No, and I mean, and John, you mentioned this before. How many bills get pushed out there that are they start with something and they end exactly as they were supposed to end with? Yeah. No modification to them. That's not how politics works. I'm sorry, that's the reality of it, and we need to keep fighting. If anything, it's going to fuel the fire for us to get rid of. I'd rather get constitutional carry and the next year get rid of the registry and be 2-0. I mean, if you guys want to go 1-2 and wait another 20 years for this to pass, okay, well, there you go.
You can't treat this all or none, but there's a lot of people in Nebraska who are.
That's how we are. We're selfish.
Saying, well, if I can't have it all, then give me none. And they're basically giving a big old middle finger to the rest of us across.
Yeah, let's not be bass backwards on this one, Nebraskans. All right, let's make it happen.
So, how do you conquer a mountain? One step at a time.
Yeah, and how do you win a football game? You get the first down. Not every play has to be get to the end zone.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go and keep moving here. John, thank you for that. It's a very good point. That's something I don't talk about enough on my channel. I really need to, but let's make it happen, guys. It's coming up, so let's make it happen. Make sure you guys go follow NFOA over on Facebook so you can keep up on up-to-the-date information. Go to their website, join, sign up for their email so you know what's going on. It's nonprofit. They won't ask for a dime. This is all, I mean, this is grassroots right here, people. If you want it to work, we got to make it hurt. We got to make it hurt. There you go. Yeah. So Nebraskans, let's do the right thing for once and just quit being so selfish. You know, I think sometimes we're just so coddled that we just don't realize what it takes to make things happen. All right, Chris, any final words before we go, bud?
Thanks for having me on. I had a great time. It was great meeting John. And I want to thank everybody out in the side chat. We've had a couple new subscribers out there today, and I really appreciate that.
No, man, I appreciate having you on here. And did you get your channel link out there also? Now that you got mod stats, you've been awarded with the blue wrench of justice, the blue wrench of whatever. So now you can go out there and post whatever. Well, within reason, post what you want. So there you go.
I just threw the link to my channel out there, and
okay,
I appreciate it.
No problem. And then to save on time, we'll talk about Thunder in the Prairie 2022 on Thursday when we have a little more time. I want to give a chance for people to get over to get to Gary's show and get in his lobby and get ready to fire it up. AWAG, any final words of wisdom before we go? Anything you want to say?
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good, man. Yep, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I always appreciate it. I mean, definitely be courteous to your public servants, because don't be that guy that that just ruins everything by swearing at your public servants because they don't have the same views as you do. Definitely keep pushing. We're already halfway there for constitutional carry, so definitely. This coming from a guy from New Jersey, keep pressuring your public servants to be on the 2A side of I don't know, history. I don't know. I don't want to be that.
There's a lot of momentum. There's a lot of momentum nationwide. There's a lot of coverage and there's a lot of information out there. And people say, "Oh, this state got it. This state got it. Why don't we have it?" Well, I mean, there's a bill. We're working on it right now. Well, we should have it. Everybody north and south from Canada and Mexico has it except us. Why shouldn't we? There's no bloodbath in the streets in North and South Dakota or even Texas. And once they pass their constitutional carry, why not us? Why do we always have to be the kids that they get to have fun, but not too much fun, right? That's Nebraska for you. Sorry, I'm being critical, but we're just ridiculous, and we're a little too cautious, a little too whatever. So So anyway, guys, AWAG's making a very important point. Be critical. We are their constituents. We put them there. We're the taxpayers, but you got to understand, if you want the process to work, you need to be an effective communicator with those politicians. So just keep that in mind. So anyway, guys, this has been Caliber Corner, Season 4, episode number 231. We had just a little discussion on Glocks. If you've never tried one before, try one, see what you think. Yeah, you might just be buying into what everybody else buys, but my experience with them on all the tests I've ever done, I've never had an issue with them, never had malfunctions. They've always been basically box stock with the exception of maybe a grip extension, and I've never had problems with them. So do consider it. If you don't like it, that's fine. Go buy something else. It doesn't matter. But otherwise, guys, that's it. I want you to have fun. I want you to be safe. Make sure you check us out on Thursday night at 6 o'clock Central Time, where we've got Caliber Corner Weekly Edition, where we tend to focus on one particular firearm or one line of firearms. And that's it. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Give a shout out to Tommy Gunn, Dennis Scott, Sandhills Media, Defense Dad, Chris from the 740, New York Outcast, Mr. Knives, Deuce Driver 610, Kevin Jung out there also, Mountain View watching G23, Terrace Miss Kitchen, Gizzard Gary. Get over there and watch Gizzard Gary's show today. It's going to be great. Armed Rebellion 47, Patriot in the Darks out there also, Tactical FUD, SS Pond. Good morning, Stan. Garage Guy 879, Sam of Anarchy 92, Two-Way Comics, Dead Truth 901 in the house, Tacos and French Fries, Keith Gregory. A lot of viewers today. Man, I put Glock in the title and everybody shows up to watch. This is crazy. Otherwise, I think that's about it. Let's see. The Truth 901, Warsaw Patriot, Fluffy 10mm Jeep Guy, Ryan Brown's out there, Tommy Gunn joining us from Canada, Donkey Puncher in the house, and Sam of Anarchy 92, New York Outcasts. I think that's probably about it. So remember, if you have any and Gun Library Garrett, if you have any questions or concerns, or if you have any criticisms, you're upset about something, go ahead and send that over to shootingleftofcenter@gmail.com and Karabianki Marshall, and he will definitely answer all of your criticism. So in the meantime, I want you guys to have fun. I want you to be safe, and as you know, we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye, Felicia. Bye-bye, Felicia.